because it's nearly Halloween, I thought I'd show off some of my kind of vampire character designs that I made a couple months ago. I was in a bit of a vampire mood. Not really any reason. I haven't watched Castlevania in ages, and apart from that, I don't really watch any other vampire media. So yeah, I'll just go through them. This first one is I feel like it's quite obvious. I'm trying a new brush out. It is I think it's on Procreate, it's called Hard Brush 1. I'm very minimalistic with brushes. Usually I'll use a flat circular brush, and before that it was the thick acrylic one on Procreate. I only really use one brush at a time, maybe two at a push. That's just me. I'm picky. I'm not a brushaholic in any form. But yeah, so first thing I want to say is the idea for this kind of character was, can I make a vampire not look boring and generic? And that's up to you. But my way of dealing with this was, well, the hair's got to be weird, and the armour has got to be specific. And the hair is inspired by kind of like 70s punk hair. The classic spikes, gave him a little braid, gave him a little flare, Padawan little flare. I tried to kind of balance it out with the kind of pale gauntness, so he's not too like early noughties kind of pop rock, you know. He looks still sophisticated despite the new metal hair. Yeah, so the clothes, I went with kind of like a Tudor vibe. The armour is kind of 1400s-esque inspired, because obviously the vampires are going to be really old, and the world is kind of set around the 1600s. So yeah, that just kind of makes sense. He's got dated clothes on, but they're pristine because they're good quality, because they're rich, because vampires are always rich. He's got quite a nice Spanish rapier. It's not going to be Spanish in the world, but I couldn't help myself, they just look really clean. And I thought that would match the vibe, they're quite elegant looking. The helmet is just kind of a generic close helmet. I gave it a little horn on the front, just to add a bit of spice, not too overdone, not too kind of apparent that he's a vampire in terms of like the armor and stuff. The next one I made is for the kind of human faction, who are inspired by kind of the English Civil War era soldiers, as you can see with the big leather coat and the musket and that kind of sword. Also, he's got kind of receding curly hair, very normal looking bloke. He wouldn't scare you particularly unless you're, you know, being followed by him at night or something. But yeah, the helmet is like a kind of Roman, what Victorians thought Roman helmets look like, with the German Pickelhaube spike on top, basically. That was my thought process behind that. I feel like 1600s, kind of tail end of the Renaissance in the north, they'd be inspired by Roman designs, so that's that there. Apart from that, he's quite a typical kind of English Civil War era soldier. Next up is the Vampire Queen. This one's a lot more inspired. She's kind of got like an Anne Boleyn look to her in the portrait. She's got a crimson kind of dress, all one colour, monochromatic, kind of Tudor inspired dress. I wanted to make all the jewellery quite silvery to kind of match her skin, almost blends into each other like the metal in her skin. That seemed kind of interesting, kind of subtle flair there. Not too flashy, but still bold. Not like gaudy. So her kind of weapons, if she were to fight, big like long sword and a pistol. Both quite kind of German looking, with the kind of handguard of that sword is kind of inspired by Lord of the Rings, with that, I forget, it's that one sword with the really long metal bit on the end. That's cool. I won't touch on him too much, he's a bit more kind of generic. I just wanted to get him down, the silhouette down. I like the sword, that's probably my favourite part about it. The rest is quite plain to kind of match the aesthetic of that faction. Again, the kind of yellow tan leather as a doublet this time, and I wanted to make him look quite padded and kind of secure, even though he's not necessarily like armoured in metal. It'd take a lot to get through that, you know. He's quite chunky, and yeah, again, normal guy, moustache, long hair, kind of being, what can I say without dating this video? It's come full circle in 2025. That look is back. Okay. Oh, this guy. I'm not too keen on him, but he's got qualities that I'll probably improve. This is a wizard with a double-barreled gun. I haven't thought of what the potential of that could be, but it was something I wanted to do. I like the idea of wizards kind of being these kind of sickly-looking freaks. I get quite bored by typical like fancy archetypes, so I want to mix up the wizards, you know, hairless, sickly, not necessarily old. I'll keep the blue kind of cloak and the hat around, but give it my own kind of twist, you know. Yeah, he's got quite like a modern skinny silhouette as well, instead of that kind of chunky, padded, drapery kind of look of that time. Just to see, so you can kind of see he's like not fully integrated into that society. But yeah, that's kind of where I've gone with it. I've just kind of outlined different people that could be within this kind of universe where vampires and humans are at war. This isn't fleshed out whatsoever. This is kind of a fun little project just before I started uni, to make a few designs, to get used to a new brush, and yeah, so I thought it'd work for Halloween. Yeah. Leave a comment if you've got anything to say, like and subscribe, and I'll shut up.